What's up, Dota people? Welcome to the DOTATRASH bronze placement, I guess is what it would be called. The bronze placement match between DigNoToss and SNA +4. This is going to be for third place in today's DOTATRASH Destruction Derby, with a prize pool of about $500 between these teams. This is a $75 best of three. Both these teams showing very strong performances throughout the DOTATRASH Destruction events today. However, neither of them making it through their semifinal matches, and they will be going up against each other for the remaining prize money that is left over from first and second place. First and second place, for anybody who has been trying to follow the tournament, is going to be between Osiris Gaming and Union Gaming, and is also going to be going on right around now. That should also be a pretty solid match, and you can check out more at DOTATRASH.com. My name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow. It's my pleasure to be here casting, filling in for Helium and Vikramond as they are off doing the finals thing. You can catch me over at GotCowDota on the Twitter, and you can, of course, catch me in the Twitch chat as well. This is going to be streamed to our PlaySevo channel, twitch.tv/PlaySevo1. That's a numeral 1, not the word. Please do go ahead and stop by, and while you're there, throw us a follow so you can catch all of our local Dota action from the semi-professional all the way down to the community level, as we do stream not only the Sevo matches, but all sorts of matches as well, such as this DOTATRASH tournament. Let's take a look at DigNoToss and SNA +4. We've got some interesting drafts coming out so far. Jakiro being picked up along with the Vengeful Spirit coming out of DigNoToss. And that's DigNoToss featuring WWD. Now, WWD, formerly of Team Wild Witch Doctors, which is the bulk of SNA +4. IX Mike, of course, formerly of Wild Witch Doctors, along with several of his teammates. So this could be a little bit of a grudge match, along with a match for $75 here. Neither of these teams wanting to let go of the bucks that they have spent all day playing for it, and they want to walk home with something. It's not a whole lot for 5 guys to split, but it is definitely better than walking away empty-handed. SNA +4 grabbing the Visage and the Nyx Assassin. That's a pretty typical, very nice combo. Nyx Assassin able to pump out a ton of damage with the instant burst that comes out of Vendetta, along with the Mana Drain and the Impale. Visage able to follow that up with a Grave Chill to make sure the target is unable to get away. And, of course, the Soul Assumption, which will usually, after Nyx Assassin pops out, have just about max cash. So, the bands coming out of DigNoToss. The Bat Rider, pretty typical. The Invoker, also pretty typical. AA, pretty typical for the current meta. And Tinker, maybe a little bit atypical, but makes a little bit of sense if you are worried about a potential push strategy coming out of SNA +4. I'm surprised to see no Nature's Prophet ban so far. SNA +4, of course, has IX Mike, who is notorious for his Nature's Prophet offlane play. At least that's what he was almost always did when he was playing with Team Wild Witch Doctors. And we cast that a whole lot over at the Thursday Evening Cup Series and saw a whole lot of IX Mike on Nature's Prophet. Would be surprised to see him pass up this opportunity. Not only would that give them some push, it would give them some global initiation. It would also give them their signature hero on their, well, some would say their signature player. Lone Druid being pulled out for DigNoToss. Difficult to tell if that's going to be an offlane or a farming carry at the moment. They have the makings of a pretty good aggressive tri-lane right now with the Vengeful Spirit and the Jakiro. If they grab themselves one other hero who goes into an aggressive tri-lane, they could put that Lone Druid in the safe lane solo farm in a one-on-one, presumably one-on-one position, where you would almost certainly do very well. So DigNoToss has to be considering that, and you know that SNA +4 are also considering it. SNA +4, worth noting, got rid of the Lycan to open up. Lycan, extremely popular. He's been first pick, first ban for about 7 or 8 days now at every level of play. I don't think that I've cast more than a single game in the last week that did not have that Lycan picked or banned by one or of the teams. And now that's bearing in mind that I do a lot of casting. I'm casting almost every single day at every level of play, from the community level all the way up to the professional level. And every team seems to be interested in that Lycan at the current moment. And it seems like just 2 weeks ago that if you had said, I'm going to draft a Lycan, your team would have scoffed at you. The audience would have not gotten behind you. He was not considered a very strong hero up until very recently. And that being said, he's been showing his strength here in the last week or so, and he'll probably be a flavor of the month, one of these heroes that we'll see very popular for 3 to 6 weeks maybe. We'll see if he actually makes it that long or not. People have not yet quite figured out how to counter him that well, partially because he so rarely got played prior to his explosion into the scene here with 6.80. Nyx Assassin picked up along with the Visage and SNA +4 running out of time. They're down to 9 seconds of reserve time, folks. They could, if they don't pick in the next 5 seconds, they're going to have a random hero to deal with. 3, 2, they are going to grab the Darkseer. That's going to be IX Mike on the Darkseer, I assume. Unless IX Mike I've only cast SNA +4 2 or 3 times since their inception, since the fall apart of Wild Witch Doctors. I don't know if IX Mike has returned to his support role or if he continues to do the off lane. I know that there's some potential rotating around between these players in their positions. I assume that's going to be an IX Mike Darkseer, though. That pretty much cinches the off lane. Nyx Assassin and Visage going to both be supports here. SNA +4, thinking about their carry and their mid at this point. DigNoToss also thinking about a mid and a carry. They've got plenty of reserve time, but if they were to burst through their picks right now, if they happen to know right off the top of their head what they want, that would give SNA +4 much less time. They're going to grab the Bristleback for the off lane. That's a pretty strong pick. Bristleback has a lot of survivability and is able to handle a lot of harassment. He also sustains team fights in a very strong way in order to handle the Darkseer, who also is one of these team fight sustain, team fight elongating heroes. The damage over time coming out of the Ion Shell means that you want to keep heroes in sort of the arena until it can really do the trick. Slark is going to come out for SNA +4. That does not surprise me at all. You often see the Slark paired up with the Darkseer, even though you don't see the Darkseer picked up that often anymore. When you do, Slark comes out pretty frequently. The Ion Shell and the Shadow Dance makes it extremely difficult to deal with. Not to mention the Surge on the Slark means that Essence Shift is going to pull a whole lot of stats away from your opponents. One ban remaining for DigNoToss, and they're presumably going to be banning out of mid here, as presumably will SNA +4. Now, we could see the Bristleback run along the Vengeful Spirit and the Jakiro in the aggressive tri-lane with the Lone Druid safe lane farming. That's kind of what I expect out of DigNoToss. However, we could see it the other way around. The Lone Druid, the Jakiro, and the Vengeful Spirit doing a safe lane farm situation and a defensive tri-lane with the Bristleback doing off lane. Those are the two most likely situations I expect. My suspicion is that Bristleback is going to be taking that aggressive tri-lane situation. With the double stun coming out of the Vengeful and the Jakiro, the slow coming out of the Bristleback along with the Quill damage, so long as Bristleback is able to keep his mana pool up, this should be pretty dangerous. Of course, SNA +4 not sitting on exactly a pushover squad for a tri-lane either. They've got the Visage for the slow and the Soul Assumption. They've got the Nyx Assassin with that nice stun. And of course, Slark is going to be able to hold somebody in place with that pounce. Essence Shift, not something that you really want to deal with in the early parts of the game either, especially when you're having trouble keeping health or mana pools up. A hero such as Bristleback is really punishable by reducing intelligence. For the first 4 levels or so, his mana pool is atrocious and absolutely needs every little drop he can get. And it's like a slap in the face to have his intelligence lowered by somebody like an OD or somebody like a Slark. So, one last pickup coming out here from DigNoToss. DigNoToss actually getting rid of the Bane. Maybe they expect that Nyx Assassin to be running mid with another support coming out alongside the Visage. And that would make sense as well. DigNoToss still has a little bit of flexibility in their draft. They have a couple heroes who could run mid if they wanted to be particularly cheeky, but none of the heroes they have are signature mid heroes. Nobody that we would expect typically, like, you pick that up and you say, oh, there's your mid. Presumably DigNoToss is going to pick up a mid here, and the Death Prophet being banned out implies that even further. And from SNA +4, they are expecting a mid to come out here. And they're expecting a mid with push. They've already gotten rid of the Pugna. They've gotten rid of the Death Prophet. Bloodseeker. There's going to be a Bloodseeker. So Bloodseeker, Bristleback, and Lone Druid are all pretty well flexible in the way they want to go. You could see that Bloodseeker in a offlane position with Bloodbath. He is able to keep his health pool up, although it would be dangerous against the Slark, who is going to have that pounce to hold him still. There's a limited amount of health you can get with Bloodbath, obviously. We also have the potential for the Bloodseeker to be going into the mid lane, which is where I expect him to go with that aggressive tri-lane that I had spoken of, and the safe lane solo Lone Druid. That's what I still expect that coming out of DigNoToss, but they do have a lot of flexibility. Shadow Fiend is going to come out for the mid in SNA +4. And that's going to be run by Oosh. So we're going to jump right into our game here as soon as all these heroes are claimed. Just one more time, I want to thank everybody for tuning into Dota Trash Destruction, and for everybody who did support the tournament by grabbing that 99-cent ticket in the Dota 2 store. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you guys get a lot of loot in the Dota 2 client. And those of you watching on the stream, also thank you. If those of you in the client do want to stop by the stream and hit follow, you can do so by going to twitch.tv/playsivo1. That's a numeral 1. And of course, if you like me, my name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow, and you can catch me casting over here at Sivo, at Join Dota, and all over the place. And if you want updates on that, please do stop by and see me over on Twitter at GotCowDota. We're going to see some immediate action, so I'm going to run through our players here as quickly as I can. We've got KVH running around on that Slark. IX Mike will be taking the Purple Penguin on that Darkseer. We've got Whitebeard Dota on the Visage. Oosh Dota is going to be taking that Mid Shadow Fiend. And SNA Dota is going to be taking that Nyx Assassin. So, Derp for DNT will be taking that Jakiro. We're going to see Nayrok on the Vengeful Spirit. Bloody Nine is going to be on that Bristleback, and WWD is going to be taking the Blood Seeker. It looks like this is going to be a mid lone druid with a solo lane Blood Seeker, I assume. Yeah, that's what it looks like we're going to have. And we are going to have that aggressive tri-lane. No surprises there. I don't think I said this player. It's Enso on the lone druid. Taking a look at some of our items. Vengeful Spirit, obviously. Grabbing some wards. No ward splitting. They are going to go with the defensive tri-lane. Drop that down so that we can see this action. KVH is just waiting here. He's going to come from around. Bloody Nine taking a little bit of auto attack damage. So there's going to be Sun going down KVH, followed by the Ice Path. Ice Path is going to keep him off of Bloody Nine for a little bit, but the Iron Shell doing solid damage. Bloody Nine trying to get away. He's quilling. He's trying to do a little bit of damage, but there's not going to be able to get away. This is probably going to be our first blood as KVH just trying to chase in. He uses, wow. Oh my gosh. Oh, the Ice Path. Oh, and he does go down, but Bristleback ends up going down for our first blood. What a play. That salve almost saving him, but not able to. Already very high octane Dota coming out of these teams, and this should be a solid best of 3 here. Nothing but the best from Dota Trash, I'll tell you what. That ends up being a 1-for-1 trade, but Bristleback going down for a Nyx Assassin, and Bristleback gave up the first blood. Definitely going the way of SNA +4. Derp doing a little bit of lane blocking here as Nyx Assassin walks around the outside. In the mid lane, we do see Oosh up against Enso. Enso on that lone druid. Should be able to do a fairly decent job of keeping Nevermore out of this lane with the bear to do some harassment. Down here in the bottom lane, it looks like we might have a little bit of activity. Bloody Nine just trying to catch back up. He probably didn't lose. Yeah, he didn't lose too much in terms of gold. He didn't have too much in terms of gold. He spent just about all of it. But certainly lost a little bit of lane time, and he also lost the gold that cost for the TP. And of course, he gave the first blood, bonus gold, and the kill gold over to his opponents, which is less than ideal. Up in the top lane, we see WWD taking on IX Mike. IX Mike trying to use that Ion Shell to keep him harassed down. Bloody Nine is coming in here. He's going to throw out some quills, but look at his mana pool. He's already getting fairly low. And he's level 1. Not even able to throw out that Viscous Nasal Goo yet. Meanwhile, SNA is doing a little bit of pulling here. We're going to see potentially a pull-through attempt, but Jakiro's wrapping around the outside, as is Derp. There's going to be the Wave of Terror, reducing a little bit of the armor. Bloody Nine coming around, grabbing those creeps, leading them off into the woods, and back into the lane so that he's going to be able to farm them. Up top, WWD doing a fairly decent job up here. He's keeping up with the Nevermore mid in terms of last hits. IX Mike, not really that far behind. So far, everybody on the map is about even, other than the fact that the Lone Druid is lagging behind in this mid lane. Pretty significantly, actually. He's at half the last hits that the Shadow Fiend is. And I would say Enso should be able to do a fair amount of harass over to Oosh, but Oosh doesn't seem to be giving it to him. There is going to be some action down here as Whitebeard is getting very low. One more quill will probably do it, and that will secure that kill. Getting caught forward just a little bit. Oh, they're going to see a dive here, potentially coming out of Ice Mike. He's going to try to drag these creeps around. And KVH getting in a little deep himself. There is the Ice Path available if Derp decides to use it. Ice Mike still up on top, thinking about diving into the tower. He is actually going to dive into the tower. He's got some creeps to tank it, and he's just going to use the Ion Shell to whittle WWD down. That way he does not take tower aggro. Ice Mike now pulling the creeps all the way around. He's going to pull them down here, drop them off in the camp, drop an ion shell there, and farm it out. Also grab as much of that experience as possible. And there's not a lot that Bloodseeker can do about that, to be 100% honest. Yeah, he managed to grab the camp. He also managed to grab all the crews. Very nice play coming out of IX Mike, but of course, what else would you expect from the man himself? The man, the mustache. Liquid Mike. Coming around. Oh, IX Mike might find himself in a little bit of trouble here. He is going to search. He's got an idea that something's happening. There's probably an MIA call, and he is going to rotate down around. He's salving himself up for just in case the worst case scenario. He's also going to go ahead and get up a clarity and retreat. As we do see the pounce go out on Bloody 9. KVH wants some action. Bloody 9 now going to be sent up by SNA Dota. There's going to be the dual breath. Dual breath doing a fair amount of damage to KVH. KVH is going to go down as the Bristleback does manage to get away. Derp. Now after grabbing that kill on the Slark, he is going to go ahead and try to take down... Looks like maybe take down Whitebeard. He's going to go ahead and throw down the dual breath, but he gets stunned out. He uses the wand. He uses the ice path. He is going to go ahead and grab one last hit, and that will secure the kill on the Visage. That's a multi-kill for this Derp. And SNA Dota unable to secure any sort of return kill. And the wand MVP, most valuable item, MVI, I guess, in this game once again. Jakiro living solely on the basis that he had bought that wand early and saved up the charges in case he wanted to play the margins. It really worked out from Bloody 9 playing very far forward considering he's relying on that clarity right now. KVH trying to get some last hits here. He's starting to fall a little bit behind. He's about 5 behind the Bristleback. Nayrok had rotated around up to the top lane to try and scare off IX Mike. It didn't work terribly well. IX Mike is forcing back right now the Bloodseeker. We can see in the minimap there is going to be a rotation here in the mid as Enso is going to be grave chilled by Whitebeard. Whitebeard's actually just going to think about diving the tower. He's taking a fair amount of damage from this tower. And Enso is going to be no worse for the wear. He has lost his bear somewhere. Perhaps that bear was farmed out by Oosh. And perhaps I just don't see it on the minimap. But we are seeing a dive here in the bottom lane, so we'll come back to that idea as SNA Dota is trying to hide from the quills in the trees. Meanwhile, we do see KVH very low with Nayrok coming in with the potential stun. He is going to fade back and not have that much trouble, but we can see that this aggressive tri-lane is completely commanding the pacing of this game so far, and that's exactly what it's designed to do. They are executing it extremely well. So far, the score is sitting at 2-4 in favor of DigNoToss. Excuse me, I almost said SNA, and that would have been wrong. IX Mike forced out of lane a little bit. WWD starting to get fairly well. And you can't help but think maybe this is a little bit of a grudge situation. Once again, WWD no longer playing on the same team as IX Mike. Maybe trying to show who can one-on-one the best. And he's glowing, too, from the thirst. No longer glowing, but he had been for a little bit of time, giving him that insane move speed bonus. He's leveling up the thirst first. Thirst first. To make sure that anytime that there is a gank opportunity on the table, he'll be able to go out and get it. In terms of last hits, he's near the top. He and Darkseer, excuse me, are going neck and neck in terms of these last hits. The mid lane is really, really going the way of Shadow Fiend, though. Shadow Fiend has had a lot more rotations. In fact, Enso hasn't had a single one, but Enso is also having a lot of trouble just harassing Oosh down. He's got the bear. He lost the bear once and had to resummon, it looks like. Yeah, he did have to resummon the bear. And that was presumably 300 gold going somewhere. In the mid, down here in the jungle. Next assassin getting caught out. And they're going to rotate in on Whitebeard Dota as well. At least they're thinking about it. Nayrok sitting on the high ground. Whitebeard Dota is going to walk right up onto him. The clarity has been seen, has been stopped. There's going to be the Grave Chill. He's going to turn around. He's going to do some auto attacks, trying to get up the high ground. He is going to throw the stun and let WWD do the work, but IX Mike is here with the Iron Shell. IX Mike trying to chase in. Nayrok now trying to get around the other side, but he cannot get through the gauntlet and goes down some auto attacks, giving Shadow Fiend a kill. Shadow Fiend now sitting at 2-0, and he just bought something, and it is on the courier coming out to him. Here in the bottom lane, it looks like IX Mike wants to rotate down onto Bloody 9. Bloody 9 sitting almost on a Vanguard, whereas the Slark sitting on just the Poor Man's Shield and Brown Boots. Presumably there's something waiting for him as well, possibly on the courier. I'll just go ahead and flash up our entire items. Darkseer is going for the mechanism. He's a little off of it right now, but he also has his soul ring up, which means Ion Shell extravaganza. Shadow Fiend did go for that Midas. He got that out at about 7 minutes and 45 seconds, and he is using it in the jungle at this moment. Oh dear, Bloody Nine coming in pretty low, and he is going to be harassed down with that mana drain. The defensive pounds coming out of the Slark. No other real big items of note coming up, so we'll just keep an eye on. Ice Mike is actually going to dive in way behind. There's going to be the dual breath that is going to go ahead and land. It's slowing down Ice Mike. There's the Ice Path. WWD coming in as well. Bloody Nine trying to make sure that he gets in and grabs that kill. The Jakiro is actually going to grab that kill. Now there is going to be the Rupture, and that's going to kill Ice Mike outright. He had no opportunity. The Spike Carapace and the turnaround does secure that kill on the Bristleback as there is a rotation from behind with Oosh and the Visage. Derp is going to go down. The dual breath going out. Meanwhile, SNA is going to go ahead and pop in. Make sure everybody goes down. That ends up being, I believe, a 2 for 3, all things said and done. Kind of a stragglers engagement. And Nayrok had come here mid to try and get a little bit of farm up, but Oosh is just going to chase him out right away. You cannot have these creeps. These are mine. Go someplace else. You can farm your own filthy little jungle. And so, has retired to the jungle himself. He can't handle that mid lane, and he's falling way behind in terms of farm. I don't know what his bear has, but it can't be too much. Yeah, Orb of Venom and the gloves, and that's it. He's trying to farm out that jungle as quickly as he can in order to catch up, but Shadow Fiend is just going to fall farther and farther in the lead as that Midas starts to pay off for itself. Up in the top lane, Slark is free farming now. He has rotated around, and it looks like we're going to see a little bit of action here as Derp is going to move up on Ice Mike, who's trying to farm himself. Trying to take advantage of this jungle, who he's retired, allowing the Slark to take that. That's going to be missed Ice Path, but the dual breath is going to land. There is a surge on Ice Mike if he does need it. He's going to throw down the Ion Shell on the creep in order to harass down Derp a little bit, though. And he does manage to grab that last hit on that creep. There's potentially some action here in the mid as the Shadow Fiend comes up onto the high ground. Some aggressive posturing. He does not go for it. Derp is going to be stunned out as he's trying to get away. The SNA has rotated in. And that's going to be a kill. So action all over the map. KVH coming in down here and forcing back the Bristleback. He had fallen pretty far behind as well, but now in terms of last hits, well, no, he's still fairly well behind. He's keeping up with the Bristleback, though, and that's his main laning opposition. He is going to come in here with a potential pounce. Decides not to go for it. This tower taking a little bit of damage as well as Lone Druid tries to protect it from the siege. Visage Familiar back here waiting to pop out for the mini stun. Down in the bottom lane, Bloody Nine looks like he wants to bait out a little bit as Jakiro is waiting in the sidelines. Here comes Jakiro. There's going to be the Ice Path, but it is going to miss. They're going to dive a little bit anyway, throw out one last quill. Sort of the Pyrrhic victory quill. And they want to push this tower. They've got 3. The Wave of Terror to reduce a little bit of armor, give a little bit of vision, see where everybody is. WWD coming around as well, and they have wards all over this jungle. WWD knows exactly where these guys are, and he's going to rotate through. The tower does go down, and he's coming in the jungle. He's wanting to come up. He wants to come up. The Nyx is going to try to hide in the Roshan pit. He goes into Vendetta, and now he's going to be following WWD. The tail is on the front end. Up in the top, Bloody Nine coming through. And WWD getting KVH here. There's going to be the stun, the tower, and there's no hope at all. I do not know what KVH was doing there, just like I don't know what the hero who dropped up here was doing. Very aggressive vision coming out of DigNoToss. They really want to be pushing the limits here. They've got the entire dire side forest warded. Meanwhile, Radiant just has the higher Radiant side forest warded. Meanwhile, their opponents, the Radiant, just have their forest entrance from the mid lane warded, and they also have their own entrance from the river warded. So, a little bit of defensive, semi-offensive vision coming out of SNA +4. But nothing nearly as aggressive as what DigNoToss was holding on to. DigNoToss's wards are expiring. They put up a fairly defensive, semi-aggressive mid ward that gives them cross river vision. There's going to be a stun coming out on Bloody Nine as Ice Mike comes in. There's one Ion Shell on the creep, and Ice Mike is going to back out a little bit. The Mana Sap, however, is going to hurt that Bristleback sustainability in this lane. And, of course, sustainability is what that Bristleback is here for. There's a tower deny coming out of Derp in the top lane. Very nice catch on that deny. making sure that they stay ahead. As we crest into 13 minutes, we see that the gold lead is essentially negligible, as is the experience lead. Both of them in favor of SNA +4 at about 500. But this is an extremely close game, and it's soon we're going to have an engagement that's going to decide who is in control of this game for a good chunk of the mid game, presumably. It's typically how these very close early game situations work out. Somebody fronts a team, gets killed out during the route, loses 2 or 3 heroes, loses a tower, and loses enough an advantage that the other team can just start to control. They also give the other team a little bit of opportunity to go out and get the wards that they want up. Could mean big trouble for one of these teams. The score in this best of 3 is 0-0. And this is the bronze match for 3rd place. Both of these teams losing out in the semifinals. Visage has to be really careful with these familiars, because those quills are physical damage. So the magic immunity coming out of those familiars, irrelevant. And they will go down very, very quickly if they're following Bloody 9 around. And that is just free gold for Bloody 9, who has his Vanguard up. He now also has his casual hood up, or casual Cloak of Defiance up. Going for a hood, presumably. Bloody 9 taking a little bit of auto attack damage here. The Ice Path goes out defensively. Doesn't hit anything, but does give Bloody 9 the opportunity to walk away without any additional harassment. In the bottom lane, KVH is going to go down and begin to do some farming here. Might try to push this tower as well. IX Mike, meanwhile, farming out here. The double damage rune is up on the Nyx Assassin. That means we're probably going to see some action mid. Both these teams are fronting up a little bit. Both these teams have mid vision. In fact, you can see the vision coming out of these teams. Dire side, very good, all the way across the river, up into the tower. Radiant side, very good, all the way across the river, up into the tower, and the jungle entrance. Not only that, they have their own entrance warded still. So this mid lane, both teams are posturing for it. Both teams are warding for it. They're expecting an engagement here. And this could very well be our mid-game deciding fight. Who is going to be in control moving forward? But simultaneously, Spirit Bear, or the Lone Druid, is farming up top. And he is starting to catch up a little bit. He's well behind the Nevermore. Oh, there is. Oh, very nice force staff on Ushtoda. Ushtoda is going to go throw up his Black King Bar, throw out his ultimate, and that's all she wrote for the Bristleback. Now he's going to go and throw out some damage on Nayrok. Nayrok is going to go down. Drifter next on the list. The BKB is up so that the Nevermore doesn't take any damage. That's a 3 for 0, and they're not done. KVH is chasing in something. There's nothing to chase here. And they're going to grab a tower as well. That's exactly what I had said is going to happen here. We have a big trade. One team comes out way on top. They take a tower or two. And then they take control of the pacing in this mid-game. And we could be looking at the mid-game maker. Now, that does not mean DigNoToss is out. But it does mean that they're going to be playing from behind on the back foot for a little while. Until they get a pretty solid engagement and grab a little bit of advantage themselves. Yeah, look at that gold spike. In the last 3 minutes, really less than that, in the last 2 minutes, we're looking at a 3,000 gold spike in excess of. SNA +4 sitting at a in excess of 4,000 gold lead. And experience. DigNoToss has a decent late game push team, and they have a great late game team altogether. Bristleback, obviously, tremendous sustain through the late game. In addition to that tremendous sustain through the late game, he's going to have the defensive capabilities of this Lone Druid, who has more late game potential than almost any other hero just because he has 12 item slots. There's going to be the engagement here on Whitebeard potentially. No. Oosh is going to try to come in. He's just going to stop after that Rupture. That Rupture really used more defensively than anything. WWD getting impaled, and he is going to go down as the Surge goes out on the Slark. This is what we were talking about at the beginning of the game. Derp is going to throw down the defensive macro pyre, but he's been bounced down, so he's not going to be able to run through it. Now there's the Shadow Dance as Bloody 9 comes through. Bloody 9 under a fair amount of attack damage as well. He is going to be sent out by the Impale. A couple of auto attack damage as well. The Iron Shell doing good damage, but Bloody 9 going to wand himself back up. He will end up going down, and Ice Mike is going to go and throw out that mechanism. This is going to be an additional tower, presumably. That's 4 for 0. Once again, DNT just trading out way too much. There's a dominating streak on the table now. And this is going to be a tier 2 tower mid at 17 minutes. This game was so close for so long. And we can see the little dent that that tier 1 tower made. But as soon as that gold chart updates, we're going to see DNT falling even farther behind. 1 step forward and 4 steps back. They're banging their face against the wall trying to solve the problem. Ushtoda Not letting any creeps through. It's a little graveyard for him right there. As his own creeps come up to the tier 2 tower top. WWD is sitting here. He does have another rupture in 2 seconds. He got his 4 staff. The BKB, that was very, very nice play coming out of Dota. He decided not to use the BKB there. He just held still. That means he still has a 9-second charge on his BKB. He did not waste it irrelevantly. KVH is going to be swapped in, but that swap is just going to give him the opportunity to come in and do some auto attacks. Macropire goes down. Everybody's standing in it, doing a fair amount of damage here. As IX Mike is coming in, there's going to be the soul assumption on Derp. Derp is going to be stunned out because a very nice play out of the Nyx Assassin, throwing up the Spike Carapace, trying to buy some time for Derp to go down. The soul assumption goes out on Bloody 9. Bloody 9 taking a little bit of auto attack damage as well. And that's going to be 2 down for nil. Once again, SNA +4 taking complete advantage and an additional tier 2. DNT has a great late game lineup, but they've got to make it there. Visage, one of the better late game supports because that is a percentage-based bonus coming out of the command aura. And of course, Lone Druid, as we already said, has more item slots than any other hero, and because of that and the power of the bear, does very well in the late game. Very scary. Bloodseeker even does pretty well in the late game, but he is a hero who typically needs to... Bloodseeker is a hero who typically needs to snowball. He needs to get going early, and then he goes into the late game with power. If he comes into the late game later than everybody else, he doesn't come into it that strong. SNA +4, however, sitting pretty happy with their advantage right now. 17-8 in their favor, and they are way up on towers. Black King Bar and Crystallis has just come out on the Shadow Fiend. It is on the courier coming out to him right now. We see that the Lone Druid is trying to farm out some Ancients. That bear is close to dead. There is a resummon if he does not want to send that bear all the way back to the fountain. He's going to send the bear over to shop a little bit. Let's take a look at what that bear is picking up. It's got its Sacred Relic up, so he is going to go for the Radiance, but it's going to be coming out pretty late. Shadow Fiend now sitting on top of... yeah, the Helm of the Dominator, along with the Crystallis, and of course the Midas still. Black King Bar, still at 9 seconds, I believe. Yep. And the Slark is going to go for that Shadow Blade to go with the Shadow Dance. And he will be able to come in completely undercover, do some attack, and then leave with the Shadow Dance, healing up all the way, laughing all the way to the bank. Nyx Assassin has grabbed a gem, and that is just for counter warding. It's not for anything else. Blink Dagger's up on IX Mike, who, as we've already seen, has the mechanism up, and these guys want their last outer tier tower. Macropire goes down defensively. There's going to be the Blink. IX Mike coming in. There's going to be a very nice vacuum. Derp has been pounced down. He does manage to throw out the Ice Path, but it is not enough. And this tower is getting no defense whatsoever. They're going to try to trade tier 1 for tier 2, but there's going to be the defensive teleport as SNA comes back towards Bloody 9. WWD coming in. There's going to be the Rupture. SNA teleport into a world of hurt here. He's not going to be able to get away, and he has given up a gem. Considering the fact that he has at least one invisible hero with that Shadow Blade on the Slark coming out, that is kind of a painful loss. In addition, look at all these wards that are up that they're going to lose. They have no high ground wards up whatsoever, and those are all in common thoroughfares. Those are all going to be counter-warded pretty quickly. They did end up trading a tier 1 for a tier 2, and DNT managed to grab a kill to boot. They probably are fairly happy with that exchange. I mean, about as happy. That's about as good as an exchange as they could have expected. Sitting at a 2-to-1 kill-death ratio deficit, and sitting down all their outer tier towers to their opponents who still have all outer tier 2s. Shadowblade just finished on the Slark. The Daedalus just finished on Ush. He does not have it. Oh, he does have it in his inventory right now. There's a very nice vacuum in the wall. And the ultimate comes out from Ush, but it does not hit a whole lot. However, he is able to throw out a whole ton of just physical DPS. Bloody 9 wanding himself back up. He's trying to get away. There's going to be the Soul Assumption. Soul Assumption is not going to be enough to finish it. Ush is going to peel off of the bristleback and come up towards this engagement where IX Mike is going to go down to the Jakiro. Very nice. That's a 1-for-1. The Darkseer for the Vengeful Spirit. Bloody 9 managing to get away from that. I'm a little bit surprised about that, to be 100% honest. Gem of True Sight is going to be left in the base, and it's going to be up on the Jakiro. Jakiro have to play very defensively to make sure he does not go down. His health pool is not exactly extravagant, and he does not have any typical escapes. We've already seen several times that the mechanism of escape for the Jakiro fairly unreliable, and that would be to throw a nice path ahead of you and then walk over it. But with the BKB up on Ush in particular is going to be a little bit trouble. The Radiance is up on the Bear, though. This is big news for DNT. If they're going to get back in this game, allowing that Lone Druid to get a ton of farm very quickly is a big part of that, and he's able to farm globally now with that bear. The bear cannot attack far from him, but the radiance does damage no matter where he is. KVH is going to walk into a world of hurt here. He's going to be ruptured, and he cannot get away. He's going to be dual breath down, and yeah, Bristleback is going to get that last kill. I'm not sure what he thought was going to happen there. What's the worst that can happen? Just pop out, say hi to some old friends. Oh my god! They are not as friendly as I thought they might be. Bloody 9, doing decently for himself as well. He's got his mana boots up. From Vanguard, he's sitting on 1,300 gold. I don't know why I had XP per minute up. Must have accidentally hit that button there, but taking a look at our net worth. Shadow Fiend, way up on top. He got that early Midas. He's got a ton of kills. He's sitting at 8, 0, and 6. In fact, taking a look at our overall kill board. Jakiro is next with 6, 5, and 4. The Visage sitting at 5, 2, and 5, doing very well. And poor Vengeful Spirit has been taken down time and time again. He tried to do that swap, but that didn't work out for him. Vengeful Spirit's a hard hero to play from a kill deficit, just because he's one of these heroes that you literally have to put in the line of danger. He's not that useful if you're not able to get that stun or that wave of terror. And if you're not swapping your teammates out of danger or swapping your enemies into danger, why have them in the first place? However, he does need to be around through the bulk of these fights because his aura is going to start becoming extremely important very soon. He's not leveling it basically at all right now. It's more of a late game skill. But here in the next 5 minutes, we should see that aura becoming more and more relevant as attack damage is starting to amp up almost exponentially towards the late game. Ice Bath narrowly missing Oosh, who's tanking the tower. Meanwhile, here in the mid lane, So is going to go down as the Nyx Assassin comes out. Slark grabbing that kill. There's the pounce, and he's going to come up towards this tower. The Wave of Terror goes out. That's a little bit of armor reduction. Presence of the Dark Lord is full. And there's going to be the ultimate. It's doing a fair amount. And WWD does throw down the Rupture. He throws it down on Oosh. Oosh is going to lose that Aegis. IX Mike now taking a little bit of damage himself. He's going to be slowed down by the Nasal Ghoul. He will be going down here. The Bear now turning around, doing a little bit of damage to Oosh. Oosh getting a little bit too deep for his own good. He goes down, and that is going to be his first death. Bloody 9 now thinking about following out after KVH. KVH has been silenced. SNA following in the Vendetta. There's going to be the Soul Assumption. That secures the kill on the Bloodseeker. Went out maybe a little bit too far for his own good. A lot of overstaying of welcomes here by both teams, and this ends up being a 3 for 3 if you include the Aegis, but it might be a 3 for 4 as Bloody 9 is stunned out here. He's going to take a little bit of damage. Soul Assumption isn't even able to land before the Dark Pack secures that kill for the Slark. Slark now sitting at 5, 4, and 11. He's starting to turn himself around. He's got the gem back. He dropped his poor man's shield into his stash. He's got his treads up, his drums up, and his Shadow Blade, of course. Taking a look at the rest of our items. The Ganoms is out on the Visage, though I haven't seen those familiars used a terrible amount. We do not have anything new up on the Shadow Fiend in terms of Jakiro has actually grabbed that Vladimir's offering in order to help the Lone Druid. Lone Druid is sitting on top of the Midas. He's also got himself a Radiance on the Bear, plus some items such as an Orb of Venom. The Vengeful Spirit, not really sitting on top of too much. WWE really hasn't gotten anything new in a while either. He's getting close to a Black King bar, though, which will be very effective against this Nyx Assassin, against this Visage. Stopping himself from getting stunned out will be a big part of having him be able to feel comfortable diving in and grabbing those last-minute kills. We saw, last time he tried to dive in, he just got Soul Assumption down. Without that Soul Assumption, he would have been able to get in, grab a kill, and also get his health back up. Familiars farming out the jungle a little bit. We hear them popping up and down, doing damage, and giving a Visage a little bit more in terms of his overall net worth. Looking at the net worth, we see the Lone Druid is about 7,000 behind the Nevermore. He's about 1,000, 2,000 ahead of the Slark, who is about neck and neck with the Bristleback. The Darkseer just trailing behind a little bit there. And about 1,000 back on that is WWD on the Bloodseeker. He's really not anywhere near where he needs to be in order to steamroll here. He's relying very heavily on his teammates to float him up long enough to get back in this game, which is the opposite of what they want. Normally, that Bloodseeker is going to come into the game in order to mid-game carry and provide another carry with enough time to get going himself. But the tides have been turned a little bit as the Bloodseeker not really able to assert himself that effectively, just being so far down in farm. He is going to have his BKB up here before the next engagement, though. And that's going to be extremely helpful for his ability to dive into 2 or 3 of these heroes and make sure that he grabs a kill before he goes down himself. Once he grabs a kill, he will get enough health back up, usually, in order to get away. Especially if he's got a big BKB, nice and fresh, sitting on top of 10 charges and a nickel in its pocket. SNA Dota coming around the outside, and SNA, the entire team, has been just outside the base trying to starve it out, but they've got a bunch of vision here too by the jungle entrance, so they want to make sure that DNT is unable to go out and get any sort of farm. The Lone Druid's actually down by the secret shop as the Micropyre goes out defensively along with the Ice Path, and he's been seen. And so Mike can find himself in a little bit of trouble once again. KVH is here with the Shadow Blade. There's going to be the pounce, and this is the exact same thing that happened to him last time. He's going to be stunned out. He's going to be mana drained. The Ice Mike trying to make sure he gets him. There's going to be the Force Staff getting him back into shape, and that was out of the Bloodseeker. The Ice Path manages to grab KVH, but they won't be able to follow that up too effectively. The Radiance Bear coming out trying to do a little bit of harass. Meanwhile, Shadow Fiend is grabbing a tower in the top lane. Bloody Nine trying to get him away, throwing out some Nasal Goo, reducing some armor. The BKB goes up. That gets rid of the Nasal Goo's effects, and he's going to come in with some DPS. A very nice vacuum coming out of Ice Mike. Ice Mike now throwing down the wall to cover up the retreat. WWD coming through with the BKB, trying to get away. Bloody Nine now coming in. He's going to go down almost immediately. So much damage coming out. WWD is unable to really make himself very effective. The Blood Rage is going to go out on the Spear Bears, hitting for a lot of damage here. Soul Sumption going down WWD. The Bear coming in, trying to do as much as he possibly can. The Radiance trying to force him out. Oosh has been swapped in. Very nice wash coming out. Naruk. Naruk is going to go down for it almost certainly. No, he is going to get away potentially. There's going to be the Force Staff defensively coming out WWD. There we go. Very nice vacuum coming in. IX Mike is going to secure both those kills. And Ensu getting back to the fountain just in time for the GG call. DNT taking a loss here at this very hard-fought game. It was closer than the charts show. About 20,000 gold and experience favor for SNA +4. But DNT consistently managing to take himself a couple of kills. Or could take themselves, excuse me, a couple of kills. Make sure to stick around. This is a best of 3 series here for DOTATRASH. You can catch it over at twitch.tv/PlaySevo1. That's PlaySevo numeral 1. And of course, I'm your caster, Gorgon the Wonder Cow. I'm filling in for Helium and Vikramond, who are doing the finals themselves. It's my pleasure to be here. If you do like my casting, please do hit the follow button on PlaySevo1, where you can get all sorts of Dota at every level of play, from community up to the semi-pro. For tournaments like this, Sevo Zone tournament, and other tournaments that we do like to show on a weekly basis. You can also catch me personally, all of my casting for Join Dota, for Sevo, for Tex, for Sex, for Tournamite, for DOTATRASH, Canada Cup. Everywhere that I go, you can catch me doing updates on my Twitter at GotCowDota. Please do stop by and support me. It helps me find additional work. So, with that, I am going to say, fare thee well for the time being. We'll be back with additional Dota any moment. Thanks for tuning in.